Like I said, I was gonna clean my room. I cleaned my room. I mean, it's just clothes mess, like I said earlier. But my room is clean. What I wanted to talk about in this video is lessons I've learned from 2024. And hopefully, I hope you learn from these lessons so you don't have to learn from experiencing. I really think that it's very, very important to learn from other people's mistakes or other people's lessons than to learn yourself. I think sometimes we do think that we need to learn things ourselves, but that's not necessarily the case. If you can learn from other people's mistakes and opportunities, you can skip a lot and you can save yourself a lot of stress. Going into that, I'm going to talk about some lessons I've learned. One of the biggest lessons I learned is my emotions are sometimes valid, but my action slash response is not always valid. What I mean by that is feelings are great. Feelings, passion, all of these things are amazing, but I've learned that like my heart is very deceitful, especially in times where I feel this way or I feel this way, right? Or even like the lack thereof of feeling. I feel like sometimes I felt really emotionally numb, and because I don't feel the need to do something, I don't do it, which causes me other problems. Or I felt one way when I'm supposed to feel this way, and it just gets me in another hurdle of trouble. So then my response to that, I think sometimes we think because we feel some kind of way we have to do this response or the lack thereof, but I think one thing I really, really want to practice in 2025 is doing things no matter how I feel. I need to get in shape. I need to work out. Okay, I need to do what's necessary no matter how I feel. One of my goals this year was to read a bunch, right? Uh, you know, some books I'm reading. So, doesn't matter how I'm feeling, I'm gonna read. And one thing I've learned to make in Atomic Habits, the book says that habits are a representation of who you are. So I really want to become a better man. I want to be someone that people can count on, someone that people can rely on, someone that people have joy to see. Like when I die, I want people to be like Mitchell was someone who reflected Christ. If I'm being honest with you, so that lesson I learned is because you don't feel something doesn't mean you have to act in a certain way. Another thing I learned is expectations are a false reality we place on people without their consent. I know that seems like, what does that even mean? Expectations are a good thing. They're not necessarily a bad thing. But I think a lot of times when we meet people, because people will fall short of our expectations because we've set this bar that may be too high for them, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But we expect people to act one way, but we set them in this like preconceived notion in our heads for them to act this way. And when they fall short to meet that reality, we start getting mad. We start doing this, and but they never were told that this is what you wanted or even communicated. You know what I'm saying? Another big lesson I learned is, as someone who likes to yap, this might be like backwards. Talk less, do more, or not. I don't want to necessarily talk less. I want to do more. So create systems that create more output for your input. What does that even mean? Is if I'm okay for more like this, let me think about how I can explain this. Creating systems that create more output for your input. Oh, okay. Yeah. I used to work at Panda Express. At Panda Express, I got paid $15 an hour, right? $15 an hour is really, really, it's really good to a certain extent. I'm in high school, or at least when I was working there, I was in high school. But let's say I have three kids. I have three kids. I have a wife. I'm trying to pay for a house and all these things. $15 per hour is not going to cut it. There's people who make $100 per hour, right? If they make at Panda Express, I used to make $86 a day. Let's not even do $100 an hour. $86 a day. If you know somebody who makes, you might not know somebody, but like, there's people out there who make $86 an hour. If they're making $86 an hour, my whole entire day, like that pay, they've accomplished that in 1 hour. So you'll find ways to increase the input that you're putting in, maximize your output, because they're not working. I mean, they are working less time, if we're being honest. So if you can increase your output while decreasing your input, it's that sweet spot. But there's a lot of work necessarily to get there. I've also learned the importance of community. My friends have really taught me how important it is to be vulnerable in group settings. Like I'm really like talking, but I'm a one-on-one person. I'm not the group person. I mean, I am a group person, but I'm not the people in the group, they're all just vibing. I'm a one-on-one. I like to connect interpersonally. I feel like, but group settings are so important because you get to learn how people act and this and this and that. You know what I'm saying? So if I can think of any more lessons, I'll probably type them. But I'm very tired. Yeah. I guess to end this off is, what are some lessons that you've learned in 2024? Or I'm just gonna say this year because this video is gonna be up till I probably die. So if you ever watch this video in the future, what are some lessons you've learned this year and how do you plan on growing with them?